Alright. I am back. I'm back and I'm live streaming again. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so in the sketch layer, I tell you what I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to take this bit and size it down. And the reason I'm doing that is if I want to do the push, that's fine, but there's no reason to have that baked into the pencil test. It looks like for this one, just because I'm in the mood, I'm going to start from scratch. Okay, so D key, charcoal ink pen's fine. Is it fine? Yeah, that's fine. Material, right layer. Cool. So I'm keeping an eye on the, actually, I'm going to try to do what I was talking about this morning and plan ahead a bit. You know, put the eyebrows there. Eyes, he's pretty much got these squinty eyes that are never open. Although, to be fair, actually, let me strike that. In this particular shot, his eyes do open up like that. So let's put the eyes on their own layer. So I'm trying to apply my own, take my own advice here. Mouth-wise, and just smack it in there. And then go ahead and ink him from there. So, boop, boop. So I'm keeping an eye on the shots in Vegas that were already done so I don't accidentally deviate on this guy's characterization. I'm hitting the shift key so that the stabilizer is brought to bear. That's a little too much. Something like that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Remember, you can always, let's go into edit mode. You can always Control plus 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 will expand that, and can always add a little variety back in, like so. You can see obviously the cursor's not in the right place, but for our purposes right now that really does not matter. Okay. Close enough for rock and roll, as they say. That'll work. Looks like his hair pretty much just falls. That might be a little too far. Slight adjustment. Not sure I love that. Let's do it this way. Let's just put in a little indication of his neck. Okay, so then, of course, these, we need to put a line across there or it won't fill. Okay, so now, let's go to the sketch layer. For my purposes here, what I'm going to do is a little unusual. Whoops, I don't want to grab all of that. I just want to grab this. And what I actually want to do is, actually, I'm going to shrink this, just hit the G key and move it over here. I just want to be able to see it, so I know what I'm doing. Now, that key can be, well, let's move it downstream so it's still there, but it's not on the key we are currently working on. Okay, so now there's obviously one kind of doofy problem right here. I was a bit sloppy. Groovy. Except what I just did was I put that in the wrong frame. Remember what I said earlier about things will go wrong? Well, I definitely make all kinds of mistakes. Okay, so now this key needs to be deleted. I don't want that there. Because the whole gist of this is going to be to try to do as much with sculpting as possible. Just because that's the particular little exercise I feel like doing, you know. Okay, so let me think about this. Should we go ahead and color them first? Probably. It won't hurt. There's no reason not to, so let's just do it. So we'll switch this to vertex colors. Vertex colors. Tavern Keeper. Ooh, that's interesting. First of all, you got to remember to double click them to make sure they're going to fill. And then, where is the leak? That's a bit of a mystery. I've been getting those a little bit more lately. Not sure. I want to look at something. Yeah, I mean, it's all on a single plane. It should be. It always is. So, yeah. If this was leaking, that I could understand. There we go. Okay, and then let's smack that. Very good. Boom, boom. Oopsie. Another leak. Not quite sure what I did there. Cool. Groovy, groovy, groovy. Okay, so shadows. I mean, usually I use the shadow material. It's not strictly necessary that I do that, but there it is. So we need to shift out of vertex paint mode. And okay. Okay. According to, let's see. According to what I'm looking at over there, we got a little bit of a characterization problem here. Not much, just a little bit. Okay. Back to the shadow layer, D key, we got the right material. the tilde key so I isolate. And I'm just going to tighten that up. Back to the D key. That'll work. Alright, looks like nobody's watching, so not the end of the world. Maybe that's why. I've been on the wrong screen, but since there's nobody watching, it doesn't matter. If anyone was watching, they'd be like, Dave, you're on the wrong. Sorry, got a little bit of fiddling in the other screen I'm doing. Okay, so where are we at? Probably should look at his dialogue. It says, I got no time for chit chat, kid. Going over some beat it. Okay, this is where he says, you got any experience? Okay, so again, the test, or what we're going to see if we can get away with here, is that. How would we do that? Well, tilde key so that all of my channels are exposed. Now, if I want to be really meticulous about it, I would lock any layers that I definitely don't need a keyframe on. Shadows. So we've got actually that. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so how are we going to do it? Well, step one would be probably a twist. Ooh, I like that. Just because of the way the fall off worked, it, yeah, that's pretty nice actually. Okay. So now here what we're going to do is, and by the way, that's also a mistake. That one should have been locked as well. Okay, so we've got fills, lines, mouth, eyes, eyebrows, and shadows. Cool. Alright, so now, tween-wise, let's go to the fill. Well, let's go to the lines first. Usually that's a good idea. So Control E. Sorry. I need to be in draw mode. Or edit mode, actually. But I was in sculpt mode, and that's the one place you can't do what I'm trying to do. Okay. So that's apparently the original pose. You know, I can see now that here's the danger. The danger is if I manually put in a key, then I have to match that key perfectly in every individual layer. And so this is not the best way to do it. Actually, it would be better to go Control Shift E on every one of these layers. Looks like the fills. Okay. I'm actually sitting here wondering if I inadvertently that sucks. That actually sucks quite a bit. Why did I have my fills locked? You know what? We got to do it right. So take all of this. Damn. I guess we could at least try to make this work. So if you don't know what the heck I'm even talking about, well, the problem is when I set the key for this pose, I didn't catch the fills layer, which really sucks because now I have to try to catch it perfectly, but it may work out. And as you can see, the odds of that are pretty low. To which you say, well, you could always just refill it. Yep, you could. And since this is a key frame, this is a pretty wonky way to do it for the simple reason that being a keyframe, meaning we're going to be resting on this frame, which means that any flaws that are in this particular key or particular frame are going to be glaringly obvious. And that definitely looks pretty stupid. So we've got a little bit of stupid going on, and remember, the reason we've got stupid going on is because when I sculpted him from one pose to the other, I just happened to miss one layer. That's a bummer, man. That is a bummer, but spit happens. Right? Yeah, that right there is where it gets really winky. It's going to require a little bit of cleanup work. But we might be okay. I think we might be okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and tween it. We need to be in draw mode. And something's missing. And it would be the eyebrows. Okay, so I'm doing it this way so that I know we have a uniform tween across all layers, and then to make it work, probably right about there is the one we want. Well, let's see. We probably want, actually it's probably more like this one. So what we want to do is we want to have a easing out of this pose and then snap to the next one. So what I'm going to do is, lacking a better idea, I'm going to take this stuff and just move it downstream and see how it feels. And yeah, it's too slow. Now, could we just... Now we can't move them closer together, obviously. So we got to kill that one, take this one, and now we're back in business, I think. Yep. Okay, so that's that. And then this gives us some insight into what should be going on with the guy's eyes. So what we're going to do is go to the eyebrows, hit the tilde key, and DE. Wait. According to the pencil test, okay, that's not what was supposed to happen. Better hit undo a couple times. Like a fool, I grabbed the wrong thing. Okay, so this is going to be up like that, and this is going to be kind of squunched down. So we'll just kind of tease it with the prior key. Bloom. Okay, so now we go into the eyes layer. D key. Whoops. Wrong material there, Jack. I'm not loving that. this looks pretty awful at the moment. Oh, whoops. And sloppy, so we'll just redo that part. Nope, too big. It looks like he's looking the wrong way. That's interesting. Let's do this. Let's move that to the eyes. Wait. Golly, that'd be like making a distinction between the eyes and the pupils. I'm not down with that much of a change, so instead what I'm going to do is just take these and now watch this. Okay, so that's just to give the guy a little bit of life. Let's go to the mouth layer, get that in, and then we'll fiddle with the rest. So I'm going to take those out. Mouth is going to be filled. And boom. Got any experience? Okay. Back to the eyes. And what we're going to do is we're going to... Do I have a whites of eyes? I've got a whites of eyes material, so let's go with that. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to draw strokes on back. And then, in the blinks layer, this will be interesting. Let's do... This is the one aspect of working in Blender that's a little less intuitive than Krita. It's kind of sweet, actually. In Krita, you can just sample a color and add a layer over top of it and make it work. So what I'm going to do here is... Obviously, we might put some blinks in there, but what I'm really after is, let's do it this way. We're going to do vertex colors. Okay. Flesh tone. I hit insert instead of I. Let's turn the sketch layer off. Experience. Okay, so we'll want to put some lines on those blink bits. Okay, so now what we're looking for is, I'm just trying to talk myself through this so I can kind of move quickly. What I want to be is in regular material mode. This really needs to be whites of eyes, which is there. It's kind of a catch-all whites of eyes material. We're still in draw strokes on back mode, so that means that this will be put behind the other strokes in the eyes layer. So usually everything is in one, all the fills, all the colors in one layer, but sometimes it makes more sense to have a self-contained layer, and that usually is when a layer is corresponding to a part of the anatomy, like the eyes or whatever, right? Okay. Again, we're cheating a little bit here by going into the blinks layer for this. Pen, I think that's what I want. Got to turn that off for the moment. Okay, so now I want to extend this to here, Control End. I want to leave a little bit of room for one blink, so let's put this here. See, you can see a pretty substantial amount of the time really just winds up going to like picking tools and layers and whatever you need to get the job done. And golly, it did it again. For freaking crying out loud. Come on. We are in Vertex Paint mode. Okay, cool. Always remember to select your colors twice. And then we'll just hit the I key and see what we've got. Okay, there's one bit on the blinks layer where I think I was in draw strokes on back mode. So admittedly, this is kind of a rough looking guy. But that's okay. I don't mind that. It looks all right. Okay, so let's do the usual. We're going to go to the RAM disk, which I believe is Control-Shift-7, or is it 8? It's 8. Okay, in the RAM disk, delete everything. And we're going to be reusing this shot, so we might as well just leave everything there, because we cobbled together a Melchizidek shot a moment ago, or well, a while ago, from the previous one. So what I'm going to do is just render it. Vegas. It's like it takes 20 minutes to wake up, and then once it wakes up, just at the exact moment that I'm going to approach Blender, the freaking preview appears. Yeah, software. Am I right? Okay, there it is. Let's go back to Krita. We'll go down here. In this case, the mouth is baked in. So I'm just going to turn these extra layers off for the moment, since I did the stuff in Blender, meaning mouth and eyes and everything. So let's turn this layer off as well, and let's import the animation frames. 1, 2, 2, 2. RAM drive. It's not a very long shot. Pull it in. Okay. And Krita. Learn Krita to pin layers to the timeline. Okay, so now you can see some of the flaws, because obviously the rim light, let's actually get rid of that. I think I might re-render this. let's do it. Let's just add the rim effect in Blender for the heck of it and run with that. I want to make sure I'm on the right screen and stuff. I am. Okay. Anything going on in the chat? Nope. So, I've noticed this before. If you're streaming on a Friday afternoon, don't expect too many people to be watching. Or to be specific, 0. Alright, that's okay. The important thing is we're making progress on this show. Okay, so what I was saying was I can turn this on and then turn it back off after I render. So visual effects, I'm just going to add the rim effect. Okay, in our case, we want the effect to be basically white. And it needs to be... Are we able to see this without rendering? Blur. So we should be seeing it here. What am I missing? What am I missing, friends? Overlay is okay. Offset, it's at 50 pixels. And no amount of moving it seems to do anything. And yet it's not rendering into the guy. I wonder why. What am I missing? There's something really obvious that I'm missing right now. This should add the effect to the entire grease pen. When you do modifiers, like, you know, like noise, for example, to make your line shake, you can specify what layer it applies to, but with effects, at least in this version of Blender, you can't. It's going to be applied to everything. I'm not even, I actually don't know about using the mask, adjusting the mask color. I have no idea what that does in practice. And it's impossible right now to see for the simple reason that Blender has decided that, I know what it is. You've got to be in object mode. I forgot about that. You've got to be in object mode. And yep, there it is. Okay. So you got to be in object mode, and you need to be in fully rendered mode too. Okay, so now looking at the show, yeah, I mean, obviously we have the rim on the completely wrong side of the guy. So let's pull it down a little bit and pop it over a little bit. And should we blur it a little? Oh, okay. If you're going to blur it, you better have more than 2 samples or it's going to look kind of stupid. Okay, overlay. Kind of good. So now what I'm looking for is, how do we hyper down the... Oh, I know. Okay, we just make the color a little less opaque. So I'm just eyeballing it to make it match what we did before. And then for sure, this is too much, way too much blur. The rim lights we did before were not blurred at all, so I don't want to change things too much. Okay, cool. We'll just re-render that guy and bring him back into Krita, and good to go. All right, boom. So here, and there is a little touch-up we're going to have to do on the color, but that's no big deal. So might as well chuck that. File, import animation frames. Here, open. Pin it to the timeline. And you can't drag it there, you gotta drag it here. So let's drag it there. For now, I'm gonna just start killing these other layers that are not necessary. And let's resave this under a different name, then we'll clean up these anomalies that are showing up around the edges. That'll take a couple minutes. So our shot would, well, I'll just do it this way. Let's go File, Save As, and the last shot was K. So this is going to be 03-92L. And just to make my life easier, I'm going to Control C, Control V, and as far as rendering goes, delete that, make it an L. Delete that, make it an L. Okay, now I'm going to cancel, because I don't want it to create 800 trillion frames that I don't need. Well, actually, I guess it cuts off there, so it probably wouldn't matter. But anyway, what we're going to do next is, we can't isolate the layer that way, because then we can't see what we're doing. So let's turn all of these off for the moment. And the transform mask, obviously pretty important. I'm assuming this here is just a Krita artifact. Okay, so now grab the right brush in erase mode. And so I'm just looking for anomalies that maybe could be cleaned up a bit. Let me think about this for a minute. Having those corrections baked into the actual layer is a little problematic. This is why using Loom to render wouldn't be the worst thing. So I need to do some cleanup on this. Okay, there's the mouth. Yes, okay, so back to what I said. I'm going to go back to this frame and hit undo. Oops. Okay, so the reason I'm hitting undo is because if I'm going to correct these little bleed overs, I'm going to do it in a separate layer. Because that way, if I do a keyframe that erases this, then that change is going to propagate over all the frames until he moves. So otherwise I'm kind of pissing in the wind here trying to actually, let's use a more blatant color that's easy to see. Okay, so then this layer gets put into erase mode. And this bit here, I'm not so sure about, but I do feel like I kind of want to trim that back a little bit. So all we're looking for now is, well, while he's in motion, it doesn't matter too much. So now we're going to add another keyframe. And what's going on here? Apparently that's in the background. I forgot to do the push in, by the way. If you recall, there's supposed to be a push in towards the camera. So everything I'm having to do right now is 100% because of one little tiny mistake I made in Blender about 20-30 minutes ago, which was that when I interpolated the keyframes in between the tweens, somehow I managed to miss the fill layer, and I had to move it, you know, create the tween manually, and of course it wasn't perfect. You can never get it perfect. So that's why we've got these little bit of strangenesses going on. That little bit there, I think I'm going to ignore for the moment. Okay, that's probably all right. All right, so that's erase. Let's just take this, and I'm going to hit Control E and just bake that into this layer. And then I'm going to do it again. Okay, and the reason I'm going to do it again is this is not going to be an erase layer. This is going to be a just paint. So you'll see what I'm doing here in half a second. Okay, again, when he's in motion, it's not that big of a deal. So you see what I'm doing. I'm just taking other things that well, you know, am I going to create another erase layer just to catch that at this point? No. I think not. So did that pretty much do it? I guess it did. Except, well, I guess that's right. I guess that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we got to tone him down. This is not doing anything. I don't even know what it is. I'm being a little careless here too. The rim light should be removed. Transform mask should be turned back down, back on. And then I'll do the smash zoom. I'll just do the smash zoom in Vegas. It's only going to be a small zoom anyway. We don't need to worry about, you know, parallax and things like that. Ba-doop, boop, ba-doop, boop. So let's jump over to Vegas and pop this baby into the show. This is going to be 92L. Boom, boom, boom. 8 frames per second. Put it in there. Turn off the resampling. Okay. Looks like you could use some help. Huh? I could use a job. How the hell did I do that? That's bad. That's extremely bad. Okay, well, actually, I'm gonna have to stop here because this illustrates beautifully why one mistake that's not corrected in exactly the right way very early in the process will hose you over and over again, and the hosing never ends. And what winds up happening is you say, well, I'm just going to have a glaring, horrible mistake in my show and just pretend it's not there because it's too much work to fix it, which is what I'm not going to do. Why do I say that? Well, because you can see, I mean, pretty obviously, I don't know how I missed it, but there it is. I keep telling you guys, I never, ever do anything right the first time. It's just a fact of life I've gotten used to. No matter what I do, I always have to wind up doing things twice. So the lines aren't the same, probably because of the brush I use, but that's easy to fix. That's like stupidly easy to fix. You go into Blender. Look at how easy this is. We just go into Blender to the lines layer that has the outlines in it, and all we actually have to do is go into edit mode, select everything in multi-frame mode. Whoops. See what I mean? Never do anything right the first time. Okay. So now all we actually have to do is grab all of these lines and thin them, which is Alt S. And arguably that solves everything. It probably does. So you say, well, then what's the problem? Well, the problem is that all of the corrections I did to clean up these edges that were wacky, and everything that I did in Krita is now lost. Get it? So not catching this problem early just cost me hugely, because effectively I have to do the whole shot over again, basically, as far as at least the cleanup and background work and whatnot. Is there a middle ground? Yeah, I mean, maybe in the sense that you could probably get away with the thicker lines during the tweens or something, but no, it's pretty bad. That's a bummer, but what are you going to do? Mistakes, mistakes, mistakes. Life is about making 10 trillion mistakes, whittling out the bad ones, you know, and adjusting. That's why I was talking about this morning. Of course, I actually deleted the live stream because I thought too much time got spent talking about blah blah instead of working on animation. But this is one of those deals that makes you go, oop, stop everything and start over. Okay. In this case, this is way out there on a limb. It's probably not going to work, but I'm going to try. Okay, we might be okay then. Why? Well, because I hit undo a bunch of times and the erase layer is still there now. So that probably means that I can re-import, and it's actually going to be, all the corrections are still there. The only thing I've changed is the thickness of the lines. File, import animation frames, and let us see if it works. Silly, silly goose. Okay. So it's the difference between that and that. Pretty crazy, huh? So for now, I'm going to turn this layer off and just, I think I'll just render it, turn on the effects and stuff, render it and see if it plays, if it looks okay. The rim light layer definitely can be removed, and the transform mask should be turned back on. All right, let's save our work and give it a crack. And maybe I'm lucky. And what is that? What the heck is that? That is something that that's another mistake that I never noticed. Okay, so I just have to figure out what layer that's in. That's so sad. Okay. Apparently it's baked into there. That is nuts. Okay, how the hell did I manage that? Well, there it is. Oh, we got two ways to fix it. We can fix it in Blender, or we can fix it elsewhere. I'm going to do both. I don't have any idea where that even came from. Strange, my friends, strange. All right, save that. But I'm not going to re-import it. I'm just gonna go like this. I know it's crazy. It's insane that I would have to do this, but there it is. This is a great example of where doing it all the hard way turns out to be the fast way. 30 seconds of erasing some anomaly in every single frame. All right, so I mean, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. I got a little bit of hokiness right there. So here's the erase layer. What is this? Okay, that's an effect. So let me get rid of this would be, let's just call this touch-ups. So it's kind of a bummer, but there it is. So I'm going to put a keyframe in here, go to here, and just zip in, and whatever I want to do. Well, actually, what I should do is paint this into the erase layer. Might as well. So I think what I'm seeing here is an artifact of the fact that because the lines are thinner, there's stuff that you're now seeing that you didn't see when the lines were thicker. All these little anomalies here, they don't matter. They really don't. You know, it puts a little noise in the thing and no big deal. However, this, and I do need to turn my lighting effects off, this is definitely problematic. I'm just going to smack that over top of that. And I think we'll be okay. Yeah, similar situation here. Most unfortunate, my friend. But, you know, stuff happens, so the world will keep turning. And the whole fix only took about 10 minutes. So let's turn the effects back on, pop it back in the show, and see if we're liking what we get. I think we're going to be okay. Okay, hey Chris K, how many episodes have you completed? Well, there's 2 complete episodes that are on, Tubi, Amazon Prime, blah, blah, blah. 2 complete 24-minute episodes, and right now I'm working on episode 3. So the short story is I am at 16 minutes and 54 seconds, and all of this is episode 3 in process. So I got about 7 or 8 minutes to go. to wrap up. Okay, so this is actually, I might as well have switched screens because this is what I wanted to look at. He says, got experience? Okay, so when he said experience, that's where I was going to put the little bit of a push. So we would go like this, go forward just a little bit, and just squeeze in a little bit. You got any experience? Okay, so the only other thing I want to fiddle with, as long as I'm here and it's no skin off my back to do it, is I'm going to go into the touch-ups layer and actually do a little bit of a fix-up here on his eyes. Because, I mean, those who are saying, man, Dave, that seems kind of sloppy there, what you got going on. Yeah, it is. It is a little bit on the sloppy side. So let's see here. I'm pretty sure this did not get pinned to the timeline because Krita never pins anything to the timeline unless you don't want it to. He says, a little snarkily. Okay. So let me just look at this. This is definitely pretty grungy looking, but like I said, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, stop everything. It's important. This is very important. If you're going to do touch-ups, turn off the freaking lighting effects, because otherwise you're going to sample colors and you're not actually sampling the correct color. So, well, that wasn't the biggest thing. The biggest thing was that I had gotten it would be in basically at the beginning of November. I had a surprisingly good result in terms of royalties for the show in August. So basically the quarter ends at the end of June. There's a month layover, and then I get a royalty check, right? So it was one of those deals where August was surprisingly good. Like after being out there and available for 2 years, all of a sudden the show seems to be grabbing. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to wait until next quarter and see what's going on. And what happened was, in the meantime, I had a conversation with my distributor to say, look, is this an anomaly? Is this like, did you guys like make a big sale of your entire content library to, to New Zealand or something? And my show was bundled in with it. And so that's why the numbers seem to be really good. And basically the answer was no. We're not really sure why it's doing well, but it's doing well on Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime seems to be carrying it. So I'm like, okay, all right, if that's what's going on, then I'm going to go ahead and, because I took 2 years off, I guess I'll get back to work on the show. If it's selling, then what the heck, So I had basically a 2-year layoff, and then the statement came in March, which would have been, fourth quarter ended, and then you got a 1 month layover of June, or January, so I guess it would actually be February. So at the top of February, I had already started working on this episode 3, and then the numbers came in on fourth quarter, and they were even half again better, 50% improvement over second quarter. So I'm like, holy crap, I better get busy and start creating a show, because people seem to be watching the darn thing. And so, anyway, that's pretty much the whole story. Because when I released it, my whole attitude was, I'm not gonna. I mean, animation's pretty time consuming, so it's like I'm gonna wait and see if the show sells. And it took, literally almost 2 years for it to grab. I have no idea why it grabbed, but it did. And once it did, even actually the distributor, we were talking, and he said, what we find is once something grabs like that, it tends to stay grabbed for a while. So does that mean a year? I don't know. But that was what happened. So now I'm like, well, if the show's selling, I might as well keep having fun and cranking on it. And I will say that, going back and looking at the first 2 episodes, I have to say that the overall you know, production values, the overall look of it and everything, I am happier with. I think I'm doing a better job now. There's still, this shot is actually a perfect example of when it still drifts a little bit south as far as overall production quality. So I'm trying to compensate for that now. But there it is. Do you think of doing crowdfunding? Well, it's interesting because, and by the way, to answer the earlier question, so I basically bowed out of day trading because I find others may be different, but for me, I can't be involved with the market a lot and have my interests divided between a project like this. I maybe others can, but I don't seem to be able to give good attention to both at the same time, and it's just a little too stressful and stuff. Oops, I didn't mean to hit erase. So the second question was, I seem to be faster now. So crowdfunding introduces an interesting question because you know, at the risk of, you know, bugging my distributor if he happened to be listening right now, which I guarantee you he's not, but fact of the matter is, once a show like this does start to grab, theoretically you need to ask the question, well, what's the distributor really doing for me? Are they doing something on the marketing side? And I already know the answer. The answer is no. You know, they pretty much throw a show out there and see what sticks. So in regard to your crowdfunding question, I'm just giving you what the thought process is because I'm kind of busy doing the cartoon, so it's not like I'm thinking too hard about this at the moment. But crowdfunding, once a show is grabbing and, you know, it's beginning to build an audience, then the crowdfunding thing begins to make a little more sense for two reasons. Number one, if there's people that are kind of actively looking for episode 3, it's possible there's a basis there on which to do crowdfunding, number one. And number two is it does kind of beg the question of maybe the next episode should just be self-released, because if it's grabbing on Amazon Prime, you know, you're giving up half of your revenue to the distributor pretty much for the placement. And I mean, hell, I've got one of my feature films that I did was on Amazon Prime. You know, I did it myself. I just self-released it, and then after a while I thought, well, maybe the distributors will do a better job for me, and went that route. But those are just stuff, you know, those are just things you have to think about. You know, what are you going to do? Let's go with this. See what we've got. Okay, right there's only one more flaw. Right there. I like that. Okay, so that's after the blink. Yeah, that definitely needs touching up. I'm going to say, I want to thin out this line a little. Okay, stop. Got to turn these off. I said that. So yeah, everything's a little quicker now, but that doesn't... stop everything. Stop. Okay. First of all, if I'm going to put in a key here, I need to have it be a duplicate key. And obviously, okay, that's not what I meant to do. Click the wrong button. I'm just going to go forward one frame at a time. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. Shoot. Oh, okay, I'm coming perilously close to some fairly egregious cussing at my own stupidity. Because I keep... Like, if you're doing lip sync, you really want this to be auto key blank, because you're erasing the mouth every time and just drawing a new one. Probably in most circumstances, this would make more sense, which means by default, it's not going to completely delete the prior key. It's going to add to it, if you will. Okay, and then this was that little blinky blink thing with his eyes. But yeah, this shot is turning into a major cluster, you know what? Because it's just a absolute what's the term? It's like what they guess they call an object lesson. It's just a great illustration of how if you have one mistake and it's not corrected exactly the right way early in the process, the process I'm going through right now of fixing up this shot is taking at least, I would say, 5 times as long as if I just fucking redid the damn thing from scratch, actually. I mean, this is becoming really, really egregious. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hit Control Insert and Control Insert here, and then go back to this one and just fix that eye blink, and then I think I'm finally freaking done. And since I'm fixing this anyway, you know, this is one of those embarrassing scenes in that, you know, don't follow my technique because everything I'm doing here is wrong. And crazy thing about this is, yeah, that's what I'm saying. This shot is so screwed up because now, okay, great example, another great illustration. Like, I kind of want to take this eye and move it south a little bit. I mean, I think that's probably pretty obvious to anyone who's watching. Obviously, the eye is a little too high. Problem is, if I fix it here, I have to go through and fix it in the exact same way with no difference whatsoever in like about 8 frames. Well, the problem is Krita does not provide any method to do that. You could try your luck with a transform mask, but transform masks and liquefy don't mix, you know. So it's a bit of a mess. I'm going to go ahead and cut it into the show because, you know, just see what I got and go from there. Actually, the angle on his eyes, I actually don't mind it. Okay, so let's look at this. In this case, I have to say I actually don't mind it. So it is more, it's playing more as a caricature, which is fine. Mainly because there's sort of a continuity here, 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 here. You see what I mean? There's sort of a pattern to it that actually kind of makes sense, which was the intent in the first place, by the way. I just didn't think it was really playing. Okay, cool. So we got that done. What time is it? 2:21. Guten. So let's go back here. This is Al. Let's save it. And the only issue now is that yes, and it's kind of a biggie, is I forgot to add these guys back in, and the transform mask. You silly, silly goose. Cool. And there's a flaw. Like I said, once you get into starting to correct something frame by frame, you know, it's the calculus, the debate is, do I just start all over? Right there. Right there. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? So I got to go into the touch-ups layer. I have to once again turn everything off, otherwise I won't have the right color. And why? Okay, stop everything. Hit undo. I forgot to turn off the transform mask. Yeah, it's pretty arduous, I must say. Once you get in that rut of compensating for boo-boos, it can become quite an unpleasant journey. Quite an unpleasant journey indeed. So, but I got it. I mean, so let's just look at the stats here. Okay, so that took an hour. What is this? This is 3 seconds of show. Took an hour. But on the other hand, this 3 seconds of show took about like 10 minutes. And I would have expected this one to take a little longer for the simple reason that I went ahead and redid all the ink and paint from scratch. I shouldn't have. Actually, that was my great mistake. That was my great mistake. Because most of these shots are already inked, as you can see as we go forward. And that's because they were all inked on the same day and they use all the same settings and blah, blah, blah. And I made the strategic error of saying, hey, it'll be fun to just re-ink this one sort of from scratch. And because there was a little variance between yesterday's ink lines and today's ink lines, it wasn't really yesterday, it was more like a week ago. Hey, Furman Animator, I haven't seen you here before. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the live stream. But we got through it, didn't we? So that's not too horrific. All right, let's just kind of review. Let me look at the script and see what we got here in terms of how this is progressing. Okay, so Melchizedek peeks around the building. There's the tavern. He approaches the doorway, but he's stopped by the tavern keeper. So he peeks around the corner. Out of the way, kid! Wow, crazy busy today. It's a zoo. I got no time for chit-chat, kid. Go in and order some food, or beat it. Looks like you could use some help. Yeah, I could sort of use a job. You got any experience? And that's where we're at. So this sequence, it's going to be fun because once Mel gets in there and starts waiting tables, he's going to find out that he's waiting on the very adversaries who are looking for him in Tianara and stuff. So should be kind of fun. Should be fun. So where to from here? Well, we're back to Melchizedek. So Mel, what does Mel do? Oh, yes. Okay, this is an interesting one. Okay, so this might warrant a tiny bit of explanation. So in episode 1, if you recall, if you're one of the true believers who've been following the show for a bit, you know that in episode 1 there was a sequence where Melchizedek and Asher were out in the village basically serving the poor. You know, it's kind of the food bank kind of thing. And so the whole idea here is we're having a flashback. Okay, so what would we do with that? Well, let's go back to Vegas and look at the show. Because honestly, I think we can do this really easily with stills from the other shots. Okay? If you don't know what the heck I'm even talking about. Okay, so this is shot 392. Is that I or L? What is that? J. That's J. Okay, so let's go to 392J, and as you will see, we could actually cobble this last shot of Mel before the flashback really easily. So let's go to our faves, which is going to be episode 3. Go down here to J, and there it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these still images, which I have to, of course, move on to another screen so I can see what I'm doing. So I am going to start with this. And I'm going to say, okay, so he's going to go, so the smile will disappear. I'm going to turn the preview off. Am I on the right screen? I am. Okay, so now what I'm looking for is the same pose, or close to it, without the smile. Okay, so I'm going to throw this one in because that gives me a tween, essentially. So if you're thinking this is crazy because this isn't really animation, you're kind of right. But, and I'm saying this really for Furman animators' benefit because we've got somebody here who's new, is that if I've got a shot that I did, 2 days ago, and by just rearranging the frames and poses, I can cobble together the next shot, then I am stupid if I don't do that, because otherwise I'm just, losing the opportunity to leverage yesterday's work today. And when you're creating a full-length cartoon, this kind of takes a while, so if you can save some time, that's generally preferred. So I'm going to go ahead and make that like that. You got any experience? Wait, did that zoom in? You got any experience? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, obviously this is like way the heck too long. So let's just feel it. Let's feel the storytelling. Wait a minute, did I just, like a bonehead, I just shortened the wrong clip. So let's go over here. We want this tween in here, so let's just kind of go like that. Boop bop. Okay, so this is too late. Boop bop. Okay. And then this is going to dissolve into the flashback. So I'm going to have to pop the flashback in later. And then Melchizedek announces that he's been serving food his whole life, which is actually technically true. So there is, so that's where we're at. And let's kind of do a little update here in Blender. So we're going to have that in there. So let's go here, and I'm going to hit the square bracket key just to move all of these keyframes downstream, get them out of the way. And that way we can progress. So, did you do the dubbing yourself? What about the female characters? My daughter was, Tianara is played by my daughter Natalie, and in the first episode or second, whatever it was, a friend of mine, Maria Torres, who kind of follows me here on the YouTube channel, she did some of the voiceovers for Fala, the servant girl, and also for Carliana, which is Tianara's mother. So it's a lot of long names. Tianara, Carliana, blah 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 blah. But yeah, most of the voices, like this is the voice of Asher, the old man, and and of course Melchizedek's pretty much just my voice, I mean, just being me, just kind of like being a kid or whatever, etc., etc. But yeah, almost all the voices I did myself. Okay, so what do we got? Do we want to go ahead and grab the flashback? Well, why the heck not? It's 2:32. Let's jump over to Vegas here for half a second, and I am going to... Boy, there's more than one way to do this, but what I'm thinking is let's go to the masters for episode 1. And that would be under render final episodes. This is something that tends not to really move around. And I'm pretty sure it was episode 1. So I'm going to drag episode 1 into the trimmer here. And I just want to find the bit where they were waiting on the villagers and pop that clip into the show. We'll just steal that clip from episode 1. From the final master, actually, of episode 1. Okay, so this is all the flashback that gets the story going. Oh wait, here it is. Cool. I think I'm too far downstream from it. Yep, it's back here. Maybe a ways back here, actually, because I forgot about that whole bit where he notices Tianara. Oh, there it is. Sorry to make you sit through this, folks, but... Okay, so this... Well, the problem is, when they're actually serving up the food, Mel wasn't in the shot because he was off getting the dishes. That's a bit problematic, isn't it? But it does seem to me that there was a shot later that I might be able to use. If not, I might have to go back to the original source material, Krita files and whatnot, and reproduce it. Basically put Melchizidek in the shot. Bummer, dude. So I'm just kind of scanning through, trying to find... Maybe I don't have it. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm going to drag that in. Do I want to... I don't think I want the audio. I'm going to hit tab, and all we're doing is bringing in video. And we'll just dissolve it. Usually half a second is about right for dissolve. Wait, why the heck did that not dissolve? Seriously? What do we got, a performance issue here? That's kind of wacky. Okay. And by the way, that's the that's the original cameo of the cabbage guy from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I threw him into this episode too. Don't ask me why. It's just fun to throw in a cameo here, and if the creators of that show take issue with it, they can let me know. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as it is, and this seems to be performing poorly, so I'm going to hit Shift B and cache it into memory and see if it plays back okay. Okay, so this doesn't belong in there. I'm not sure this whole bit is really going to work. I kind of was assuming it would, but if it doesn't, the world will keep turning. It's nice to have someone help you so you can make animations with sequential stories. It's nice to have someone help you so you can make animations with sequential stories. Meaning having other voices gives you the ability to make a more complex animated show or something. Is that what you mean? I'm not sure what you mean there. This is you know, not trying to brag or anything, but this show is really literally a 99.9% all, you know, one-man show. You know, because I write it, voice it, animate it, write the musical score. So I just have my daughter jump in and do the voice of Tianara. So to the astute observer, this would be kind of a poignant moment because Mel's actually getting chewed out at the moment that this flashback occurs. So the question now becomes, do we have the material from here to finish this shot up? I think we do. I'm going to grab this. Actually, that's probably a still. Yeah, that's a still frame. So what I need to do is grab this, pop that baby into the trimmer. Are we on the right screen? I think we are. Yeah, we're on the right screen. Okay, so let's just have a look here. And that's not it. Sorry, friends. I'm a little lost. Partly because I'm moving quick. Yeah, it seems like it would be this one. Let me see what happens if I pop that in the trimmer. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Yep, that's it. That's it right there. I can reuse that. Poof. Okay. And we definitely need sort of a dreamland dissolve kind of thing. That should be half a second, not a full second, probably. Okay. And Vegas is being a little bit silly, so the transitions aren't showing as dissolves. Okay, is this disabled to resample 8 frames per second correct? Okay. Okay, so let me look at what his line of dialogue is. That's kind of important. So he says, I've been serving food my entire life. So flashback, I've been serving food my entire life. Ta-da! Okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll review the scene because I just want to make sure that the reuse that I'm doing isn't becoming egregious. Usually it doesn't. You'd be amazed at how much you can run shots in reverse and kind of cut them up into pieces and paste them back together, and it all works. Well, see, it actually is going to work because I had taken the shrug and the yeah, and what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take the shrug out here. Yeah, this is not actually helping. So I'm going to delete that. And so what did he say? He said, and I could sort of use a job. Okay, I want this frame right here. I want that picture, and I just need to insert it in there to basically stretch out that cut a little bit longer. So, and by some freaking bizarre coincidence, I actually just went right to the exact frame I needed, so that's kind of handy. Boom. I could use it. Right. I could sort of use a job. Okay, I was wrong. That's actually not the right one. Okay, dyslexia moment here. Actually, let me hit undo. Okay, I can't. I have trouble keeping track of left and right in my head when I'm multitasking. So this shot, his head comes back and then it goes back to here. So actually, right there. So the solution is probably to just do that. Yep, there we go. Problem fixed. Yeah. Dissolve. I don't know why that dissolve doesn't happen. That is so weird. I'm caching it into memory right now. There we go. Okay, that works. That works. So the shrug is better here. Anyway, it punctuates the dialogue better. So cool. All right, what do we got? 43. Have you ever tried using AI to change your voice to female? It would be easier to get the desired intonation, maybe. Short answer is yes. I've played around with running large language models and other AI tools, such as related to art or voice. A bunch of it. I'm pretty up on all that stuff, and I do use AI tools. Well, here, for example, probably is it? Where is it? 3. Okay. Like these background paintings were generated by AI, but what generally happens, and by the way, am I on the right screen? I bet I'm on the wrong screen. Yeah. These background paintings, you know, they serve as inspiration, but ultimately they have to be kind of cut into pieces, and you know, sometimes you're doing parallax for like when you get into a scene, for example. Like that's actually not AI, so that's not a good example, but oh, neither is that one. Okay, where's the AI painting? I mean, all of these interiors were all of these interiors kind of started with AI, but invariably I wind up painting over them and changing things and whatnot. But as far as voices go, what I found was if we're going to do 11 labs, that would probably be okay. Like I could probably do what you're talking about doing with 11 labs, maybe. I don't know about as far as changing the voices, but the tools out there that everybody gets so excited and hyped up about that tend to not actually be good enough. Like if you listen closely, there's a lot of artifacting in a lot of AI tools. So, like I said, 11 labs would probably be okay. So if I fed 11 labs a minute of me being Asher, like, so I'm going to read a bunch of material and upload it to 11 labs, and then of course their wonderful AI tools will make it so that I can simply key in the text and have the voice of Asher. Well, okay, you could do that, but you make a good point in your question, because the only reason that would be useful for me is A, I'm dying, so I need some way to be able to do this when I'm dead, let somebody else do it, or, as you alluded to, change it to female. There's really no good reason to do that. As I say, I actually did some experiments with my daughter's voice, and it worked, but it really wasn't quite good enough. You know, it's like a low-quality MP3. You can hear artifacting in it that is just not acceptable for a broadcast production. So that's all I'm saying. All right, so where are we at here, folks? I'm feeling a little bit lost. I'm not sure where we're going. Let's just take a look and do a quick review. But yeah, at this point, I actually need to split on out of here pretty quick and get my lunch. So You know, it's feeling good. It's coming together. Usually, when it comes to voices, I guess I'll go a little further in my answer, actually, because the fact that question would be the question that you asked is very telling about what's going on in the AI space right now. The AI space is a space that is massively driven right now by hype and the promise of capabilities that in most cases aren't even close to being ready for prime time. And that includes the large language models. Try doing what I've done and write some code, either some Python or some, could be JavaScript, could be PHP, could be, I'm having a brain fart on the language that is used in TradingView to code custom indicators, but try to get some assistance from these large language models in the coding space, and what you find is they literally give you completely 180-degree wrong information about 70% of the time. Like you save no time at all. The whole thing winds up taking just as long, if not longer, than if you just did the hard work of reading the freaking manuals and do it yourself. Now, that will not always be true. There will come a time when it's up to the tasks. And so if you want to generate a quick and dirty audiobook and you're also happy with using the voices that are available as opposed to training your own based on either your own voice or someone you know or whatever, then the AI audio tools are definitely good enough, you know, for like an audiobook or something, or obviously YouTube content. It's why you hear the same voices over and over in millions and millions of YouTube videos. But yeah, so to date, the easiest way to change your voice, like for me, the easiest way to change my voice to female would be to just try to sound kind of like a female. Now, if I do that and then actually add to that a little bit of conventional pitch shifting, I probably could make it work. There is one line in episode 2 of Salt and Light where Tianara has a line of dialogue, and for some reason, whatever Natalie read wasn't working. And I read the line and then just did some conventional pitch shifting and, you know, this and that. And it intercut seamlessly with her dialogue. But you can get away with that once in a while. You can't get away with that too much. It's hard to, you know, to fool people for very long when the, you know, quality's not there. But they're to kind of wrap up the discussion, because I need to get out of here. I saw Veritasium had a YouTube short where he demonstrated he had the camera on his lips and he said bear, bear, bear 3 times, and then he said there, there, there 3 times. Okay, and then he revealed that the only difference between the two was the video, because it was actually the same audio both times. But because of what you saw with your eyes on his lips, you heard the B of the word bear or the TH of the word there. But it was actually the same audio. So you can get away with a lot if you can kind of lead the brain with visual cues and things like that. So anyway, all interesting stuff. I'm going to save my word and sign off. So again, Furman Animator, welcome. Come back. Chris K, same thing. For now, I'm signing off, and as you guys know, there will be more later.